Welcome to the Longevity Optimization Podcast, where we discuss longevity, optimal health, nutrition, peak performance, cognitive excellence, and so much more. Chervin, it is such a pleasure to have you here with me today.
It's good to be here, Kayla.
This is so long overdue.
I know. We've been talking about doing this for years, and I appreciate the patience on both of our parts.
I mean, absolutely.
Yeah, all good things take a little bit of time for it to come together, but it's awesome. We're stoked to be here. Congratulations on everything that you're doing on your new marriage.
Thank you.
And you actually invited us to your wedding, but it was a complete conflict. I think you told me like a week before.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think you know the story.
It was a shotgun wedding, right?
It really was.
Legitimate shotgun wedding.
It literally was. We ended up having 150 guests there. And, my husband's from LA. So I would say like more than half the people, I was shocked. I was like, I feel like we're going to have a small wedding because I planned it in literally 6 weeks. We got engaged on April 4th. Planned the wedding. We were married by September 23rd.
Wow. I mean, how you do anything is how you do everything.
Right? To me, it was like, I've been running businesses for years. Like, what's planning a wedding?
That is really cool. And I like the idea, obviously everyone has a kind of a different take on how they move through things. And I see you as someone that just grabs it and moves forward. And that's really beautiful. And I think that's a telltale sign on how we want to approach this conversation and how we want to approach our health too.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, move forward, momentum. We were just talking with Jamie off camera. It's like, if you are, finding yourself that's, you're getting let down internally and you're fogging up your day with things that are literally just wasting your life away, you're going to build that like internal loathing. And loathing usually takes you into escapism, and escapism usually takes you into turning for things that aren't good for you, right? Like weird relationships, weird food, weird water, all the other things. And so if you can just start shaving that down a little bit, like just scraping it, like, just sharpening the blade or putting a little bit more pressure on the rock to turn into a diamond. These are the things that you can do to start calibrating you back into getting somewhere in balance. And then you have the opportunity to go for, hero or limitless potential.
I mean, I couldn't agree more. And I feel like you and I have so many similarities when it comes to maybe approach to life. And, even when I was texting you the dinner menu, tonight.
Oh, that was awesome. We're going to do a collaborator post on that specifically. I'll just lay it out right here. You broke down a very exquisite cuisine that hit on every level of certain metrics that people that care about what they put in their body is going to want to see and expect. And it's not being snobby. It's not being fancy. It's just being a fucking qualitarian. Excuse my French. And if you don't give a damn about what you put in your body, then what other areas in your life are you laissez-faire with? And I know there is an energy out there like, you only live once. You don't want to be, why you got to be so militant? It's not militant. I'm berserk in so many other areas. But what I put on my body and in my body and what I allow my eyes to see on a daily basis, because that's a form of food as well.
100%.
Right? I'm going to be, very serious about it. And so you sent me a very, very detailed breakdown of if this is okay. And, I immediately was like, okay, this is a snapshot. We're going to post this so people can see how we communicate. But I really appreciate that.
Yeah. I appreciate that you appreciate it. But I feel like, there's some humans in the world that you can just feel are so authentic. And for anybody listening to this, you have Cymbiotika, which I don't say this lightly. I like to do a lot of investigation on anything that I ever post about in general. And I like to understand, like, who's the human that made this? Because if that human isn't, like, a very high-quality person, then it's probably not something that I'm interested in aligning with. And that doesn't mean, like, I think super highly of myself. But what it does mean is that I love the people that I'm talking to. And I also want to, like, have really good, deep relationships with people that we're doing business with, right? And even from like day one, I think you and I did like a live like years ago. I was like in the chamber. It was like hilarious. People thought like something was wrong because I had like a nasal cannula, but I was just in a hyperbaric chamber. But I knew then, I could just feel that, and like that you're very authentic. And I think that's almost unheard of these days. I
appreciate that. And, you can see and feel what it is that you hold within yourself, right? Because we're mirrors, and the attraction creates that spark where it's like, oh, okay, this is a kindred spirit. They're operating with intention. There's no weird agenda. They have drive. They've been through a ton of shit, and they're here to up level in so many ways, and in the process help people. I think you and I also have a similar spirit, and I offer your name up to a lot of people that are looking for information and health and wellness, because you do such an eloquent job of providing detailed information. I love your posts. I think it's pretty clear that my position on social media, I'm pretty vocal about it. I have a problem with the algorithm stuff. I have a problem with the clickbait stuff. I have a problem with all of this weird noise that are chasing the AI and chasing the algorithm to create hyper viral videos, and it's all regurgitated drivel or fear porn, catching you with some type of loop. And when people are actually putting together a lot of information when their cup is full, and they're offering it to nurture people and to provide a lot of learnings for them to up level their life, I appreciate it so much. It's kind of like when you run into someone on the street and they're so cordial and so beautiful, it's almost surprising sometimes, and you just want to hug them, or a waiter that is just so on point, or whatever it is. Anyone in the service industry that just really is doing what they love what they're doing, and they're not bringing their internal stuff when you're trying to have a good time and trying to have an experience. And so I want to commend you for that. And it's seen and it's felt, and I've been through the rabbit hole, and I've been through the ups and downs of this whole social media stuff. I was never really a social media guy until 6-7 years ago. And the first 3-4 years, I was just pouring my soul into this thing. I was I brought the world into my home, into my triumphs, into my pains, into all kinds of stuff, family stuff, pain to purpose, the whole thing. And it was almost like my own quasi therapy. And I would say over the last 3-4 years, I've seen social media, or what it was in that moment, kind of drift into what it is today. And it's becoming, again, something that is, defined by almost an illusory state. So the illusion's strong. And, for all the people out there that are really pouring in their magic every single day and being in their heart and intention, whatever it is, whatever your artistry is, I just want to say thank you from the deepest part of my heart. You have my respect and honor.
Yeah, absolutely. It's, social media is interesting. And I love that you said, not only do we care about what we're putting in and on our bodies, but what we're putting into our minds. I've been just going hard. What do the kids say these days? Like going hard in the paint on this for like so long, right?
Full send.
Okay, full send. Here we go. Because it is so important. Like I only follow, I think maybe like 200 people or somewhere around that. And it's not because I don't want to follow people, or not that I don't love people, but I have to create my own boundaries within what I'm putting into my own mind.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I don't think a lot of people are doing that. And I think just that, and we'll talk about all the amazing stuff that we both are like obsessed with, but just limiting what you're putting into your mind is so helpful, right? Because then you're not on this constant wheel of like comparison. And, first of all, your heart should never be a heart of jealousy. Like there's not a single thing that a friend of mine has ever gotten or done that I wasn't genuinely like overwhelmingly excited for them, right? Yeah. So if you feel jealous, you should really just reevaluate your heart, because it's coming out.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I've talked deeply on, the scarcity mindset and the lack and the envy, and that, a lot of these things, I'm pretty sure when I intuitively drop into it, it's not someone choosing to be, jealous or to be in an envy state. It's just a lack of the toolbox, and it's the trauma that these someone has gone through.
Yeah.
And they never really had the opportunity to, kind of unravel that energy or that frequency. It's something that might have been passed on to them through their parents and their parents, and grown up in this rat race of a world that we find ourselves, which is really becoming a Darwinistic realm. The more I look at it, survival of the fittest, which 15 years ago I would have said that is the worst thing for me to admit, but it really is coming to that point. And I think we'll circle back to that, to what I mean by that, because there is truth to be told there, and there's a beauty about survival of the fittest. It puts you in the driver's seat.
Yeah.
Survival of the fittest is not so much I'm not speaking so much as an economical thing, but more as how you choose to live your life, and what decisions you're making, what decisions you're not making. And so the rat race of social media is spawning into all these different directions, right? And we are part of, I would say the alternative health, new age science merging together and finding resolution of what we find ourselves in today through technology and food systems and supplementation and all the new technologies that are coming across us. And it's an exciting time. I think we're hitting new waves of profound awareness. And it's interesting because I grew up in this arena. I was 7 or 8, 9 years old when I started learning about all the different, foods out there and the systems and herbology, and then apothecary from there, and then TCM and Ayurveda. And these are things that my cousin at the time was teaching me when he was becoming the most famous raw foodist in the world. And I was, I entered that realm still in almost theta as far as the imagination and the looking at this as like, I am experiencing something so enlightening and so spiritual, which is pulling me on this incredible journey. And the conflict was, standard American school systems. And I was like caught in between these two worlds, to the point where I told my parents it's time to start enrolling me into other programs, other curriculum programs. There was one called Gateways, which was a Steiner influence / Montessori style school system. And then from there, I was able to really go into my power. And so I'm in the awareness right now that everything that I'm doing with Cymbiotika and everything I'm doing with my team, my tribe, my crew is really of utter importance, not for me to be this healthiest person alive and to, crack the codes on everything and be recognized as that. It's not my angle. There probably was a moment where, I was like, okay, I'm going to show this is how far we can take it. But it's almost matured to the point now where I want to create opportunities for parents to be able to provide this newfound information, which is actually ancient, back into the children's and have them evolve with this level of awareness. And the health aspect is, just is part of that chain. It's really comes into the thoughtfulness of choosing, self-love over anything else. And that right there, I think, is something that is missing in the biohacker world and in the tech frame health world, where it's become almost a, pseudo algorithmic state of mind where we're competing for certain things when really we should all be holding hands and figuring out solutions that are going to solve a lot of the problems. A lot of the problems we're dealing with as a society right now are coming down to the fact that the biochemistry doesn't even have the opportunity to manufacture and produce hormones and neurotransmitters and enzymes necessary to be in your body. And it's no wonder we're in the state that we are today, politically, medically. The system is falling apart, almost like rusting right now. The iron has taken over. We might talk into, iron and how that works in the body. But this is something that is really important for me and my family to really set that precedent and be part of that solution.
I love that. Yeah, let's stay there for a second, because as many people on this podcast know, recently married, I want to have a lot of children. And, I actually reference, I was talking to my husband, and I'm excited for you guys to talk after this podcast. And I kind of mentioned some of the things you've told me in the past about how you grew up. That's definitely not how I grew up, but that's how I want my children to grow up. I want them to experience health, optimal health. Seafood is something like incredibly nutritious, and just have a different worldview. I had to kind of create that for myself later, because intuitively, I knew who I wanted to be and I was able to become that person, but I realized that doesn't happen every day. So how do we, because there's no doubt that it starts with the kids, right? And the rates of obesity in children. This was non-existent. And how do I say this in the nicest way possible? I believe it's just, lack of knowledge, right? Because at the end of the day, at this rate, in this time in society, if you do nothing, if you don't wade into this world of health at all, you are going to get chronic disease. multiple chronic diseases. You're going to live the last years or last decades of your life not yourself, memory loss, the ability to walk, and all just the basic things that previously, even though everyone's like, oh, our ancestors died early. Yes, I mean, they might have had shorter lifespans, but now we're having longer lifespans and we're just living miserably for a long time. That's not exciting at all. So how do we start with the kids? Like, what are you thinking about doing?
I love this conversation. I was in the airport in Austin flying back to Orange County on Sunday, and I was just witnessing, people just seemingly unconscious in their body, walking around, not present. I could feel it, and it wasn't coming from a place of judgment. I was just noticing it and just seeing how people were treating themselves. And it was just really, you feel those at airports. Airports are just one of those places that really puts the mirror into, what's happening on a worldwide scale. And I immediately felt this, like, my heart trembling for the elderly. And, we're going to talk about kids, but I had this, like, I've been feeling this for a while now, just where society is on how we reference the elderly and what they even mean to us, and the lack of commitment to provide and nurture and support and honor them when, hundreds of years ago, the elderly were the most sacred people. They were these are the teachers, these are the aunties, these are the grandmas, the abuelos. In my culture, the grandparents are revered. They're worshipped because they've gone through so much, and they're the teachers, and they hold it down. And this new generation, or the last 5 generations, it's generation lost. Now, I'm speaking domestically here in America, but we've forgotten what we've forgotten. We've lost our connection to our source code, and that is a travesty. You add on to the fact that the baby boomers and even later generations than baby boomers are deeply sick right now. Yeah. And this is the true pandemic. The true pandemic is neurodegenerative disease. Yeah. Right? And that is spawning from an overload of toxicity in our world and stress and all of these things hitting at once. We are up to our head and saturated in so many toxins, and we don't have any clue on how to process any of these informations or where to go from here. Yeah. And so the standard of care the Maya, which is, it's an illusion, how we're treating them, putting them into these, memory care institutes and just out of sight, out of mind, is a spiritual detonation, in my opinion. It's a breakdown in our soul's journey, and it's creating karma. Now, I didn't want to get super spiritual on this podcast, but I've tuned into what is happening to our society because of how we've basically turned our back on our elders. And that in itself is something that we have to figure out, because it is putting us in position where we are losing our own honor, and that will never get back. And because of the anthroposophical lens I have, anthroposophy is it's a devout, spiritual practice that was developed by Dr. Rudolf Steiner. The big lens of that is, how in our hearts do we find love? Yeah. How do we find empathy? How do we build intuition? And those are the foundations of the Waldorf school system that he developed for the Waldorf Astoria cigarette company, where the founder, a German guy, came to him and said, hey, I have thousands of employees. I need their kids to be taught something that's going to create something different than our standard school system. And he went into the forest and had a clairvoyant psychic phenomenon experience, and through his wizardry created a foundational, heart-centered, love-centered, empathetic-centered almost like a triage of how to develop and grow the minds and hearts of children as their souls are literally entering their body. And so you asked me, how do we get back to the children? Now, I'm not saying everyone has to immediately yank their kids out of private schools and public schools and put them in a Waldorf school. But the fundamentals of that school system is based on not forcing information and curriculums onto a child for them to memorize at an early age, and allowing them to develop faculties on their own direct observation till at least 7 years young, while their brain is predominantly in a theta wave state. And by doing such, you are giving that child authority. You're giving that child agency. You're giving that child discernible aspects of development, which will create a foundation for them to want to discover the truth on their own and not be pushed around by an outside force, an outside system, an outside government, and not be conditioned by the masses. The problem with what we're dealing with today is that technology and the lack of faculties of children have merged into this, domination of mind, which has created the domination mind matrix, or some people call the Wetiko virus, which is a virus of the mind. And we're now, I believe we're in a very interesting state with where this technology is coming, and now the algorithms and AI and all of these things, it's just getting faster and faster and faster. And we're losing our children. We're losing their ability to experience, to empathize, to expand. You compare a child who is, put up, on the side with their parents, is constantly watching movies and television, is texting friends about nonsense, is stuck to the material world and the pop culture, and is eating food from an app, and is, we're not even like going to the store anymore to get food, let alone growing food. It's not showing up on the front door. Sometimes it's not even showing up at the front door. Someone's grabbing the food and then setting it for them. It's just, we're at that level of disconnection. You compare that child with a child that has been in the dirt since they were 2, maybe even younger, connecting to our mother, not only understanding the aspects of growing food, but just on a biochemical level, getting, the mineral and the biotics and the sunlight and the osmolarity of everything. All that information is encoding. It's almost like a child going through a birth canal, right? Just getting doused with all of those biotics. It's the same thing. And being in the elements, and then growing their own food, and not just dropping a seed and leaving it there, but actually concerned about it and nurturing it, and taking care of it and watering it. And maybe it needs a little bit of calcium because they're having problems with their tomatoes, or maybe it needs a little bit of acid, or it needs a little bit of phosphorus, and it's understands the decaying of the foods around it, which is providing more information, because it's all information, right? All of these things. You compare that child who then eats that food and understands how much work has gone into that, how much love and care, with the other. Now, again, I'm not coming from a judgmental place. I have empathy for what's happening to our world right now. I'm worried about it, and I don't want to be worried. I don't think that's an energy, but sometimes you need to feel the stress in order to create a reaction and to do something about it, right? That's what pressure is all about. You can't compare those kids. No. Their level of being able to bend and being able to maneuver and being able to make choices on their own, their ability to foundationally grow into their body, just on a mental, emotional level. I'm not even talking about the health aspects. Yeah. Those two actually merge together. They're a complete merge. They're not separate of, right? The allopathic mind wants to separate every single condition, and here's the expert for this micromillimeter of your body, and every micro cubic millimeter is an expert. No,
I know. The further you go up in the medical field, the more training that you have, the more specialized you are. Kind of the more prestigious it is. But it's like, okay, we're totally missing the entire point here. This is one living body, and it's all connected.
All connected. That allopathic is myopic, and it's staring through like a needle camera, and it's so detrimental. And this is all part of the entire system that was built. I mean, this was built. I'm not going to say the names, but there are the family lines that have created this level of education, and that has now permeated through the foundational state-sponsored school systems and have made its way into higher learning, Ivy League schools. These are the same institutions that are spurning out the people that are making decisions on every single metric that matters to our world growth, from media to economics to banking systems, the money matrix. That whole thing is part of that allopathic mindset, and they're rewarded for it. And this direction we're at right now, Steiner's interesting. Steiner said 100 years from now. So he said that in 1917. He said, we're going to hit a level, he called it the Ahrimanic impulse. Ahriman represents materialism, science, which has become the new religion, mind you.
Yeah.
And not real science, not the scientific method, but like scientism, where we're not even understanding the science, but we're just trusting the science, right? Yeah. We just went through that. That level of thinking and disconnection from the earth will be we're going to be hitting its height around 2020. And then we'll have 20 years. If we keep going in that direction and we lose who we are, where we are, why we are, our connection to source, our connection to conviction, our connection to agency, our authority, we're going to enter something called the eighth sphere. And the eighth sphere is a completely dystopic reality. And it's interesting because Hollywood, and we're next to the Hollywood sign, all they've been pumping out for the last 25, 30 years is post-apocalyptic movies. And those are remember WALL-E? All of these frameworks were hyper industrialization, military complexes, industrial complexes, and all the different things that have basically destroyed the realm of where we're at right now are going to basically suck the matter and the juice out of our life. Yeah. And at that point, we're going to, there's going to be a major, reset. And I think we're heading towards that direction. And so that's why I care so much about people's health. That's where I care about some people's spiritual practice. And my spirituality is not, I'm not airy-fairy in the cosmos, completely disconnected from the body. In fact, it's the opposite. I feel that the deep mysticism lies in the merging of the ethereal and material plane and understanding the cosmic laws and understanding the foundation of our earth, which is why I'm so, heavy in mineralization.
Yeah.
And understanding monatomic, minerals and what subatomic charges and what the hell magnesium is and selenium and zinc and all the different foundational minerals and understanding hydrogen and all these different things. It goes hand in hand with this practice of knowing. And I know I'm ranting right now, but this is the truth. This is where we're at. We're really up against the wall right now. Things are falling apart, and they've been falling apart for quite some time, and we need to get our faculties back, and it starts with the children.
Absolutely. I made a post probably like 2.5 years ago, maybe further back. And it said, basically if I wanted something along the lines of, if I wanted to create an evil world or something, these are things that you would do, right? Like you would demonize sunlight. You would destroy social connections and create like this false social connection. You would destroy the food supply. You would make it, calorically high, nutrient poor, which also, based on the research that we have, we only have 50 harvests left because our soil is so depleted in minerals. And
if that.
Okay, exactly.
And if those are even real harvests.
Right.
Yeah, that's...
So, it could even actually align with what you're saying with the 20 years, right? Yeah. So, that's why we're living in a place that is so incredibly detrimental to minds, souls, and bodies, all of which align exactly like you said. And they also feed each other, right? If you have a healthy body, and we'll go into this, but if you have a healthy body, that's going to lead to more clear thinking. If you get a good night's sleep the night before, even just something as basic as that, and get some morning sun, you're going to feel so different. You're going to have more agency. You get to control your mindset before the world then goes and controls it for you. That's why for me, morning routine, although we just shot a YouTube video and it took all day just to do my morning routine. But I
love that.
That's so important because it's like I'm going to decide how I'm going to operate today before social media or emails or someone tells me. So I love that. And it really is, I don't feel a negative space about it. I think it's a huge opportunity because it's also forcing us back to some of the practices that need to take place, like regenerative farming and regeneration of the land. But I couldn't agree more. And with children, we're just in such a tough space. I would love to hear your thought, but the only way I can really think to start making big change is to start with yourself and your own family. I mean, unfortunately, we both know. I mean, I have, I don't know if you're friends with Callie Means or not, but he's an amazing guy. He was like in DC and now he was just like on Tucker Carlson and he's talking about the food politics, right? I don't think that's going anywhere. I don't think, I mean, I think we have a mutual friend that is running for candidacy.
Who's that?
Robert F. Kennedy.
Oh, yeah.
So
I love Robert.
I mean, he might actually take it all and just throw it away, right? And overhaul the whole system.
I mean, he should just be, Surgeon General. I mean, that's his position, I think.
Yeah, but there's no one, like, I've never heard a presidential candidate talking about, like, mitochondria before, okay?
No,
like,
for sure.
It never happened.
Yeah, where the gap on that is so far.
Totally. Yeah. And it's just not even on the radar. Although I don't understand how it's possible to miss, considering that, our medical system is like such a massive burden.
Yeah.
But
they want it to be a burden. It's part of the economy.
No,
just like war is part of the economy.
Oh, absolutely.
Consumerism and disease.
Absolutely.
Those are the pillars of the American economy.
Yeah. I mean, and it's all like one hand feeds another. What do they call it? The revolving door, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think like, someone that was at Monsanto is now like, with theft, something like that.
Yeah.
But I think really we just have to start with ourselves, right? Because I don't think that there's going to be any monumental government change, which of course that would be amazing. I don't think that there's going to be any massive overhaul of even the medical system because I would say 80% of my friends are doctors and they've all left Western traditional medicine because they went into it wanting to help people, as I'm sure all doctors do, then realized that they weren't actually taught to heal someone. It was, again, very like systems based and, pharmaceutical based.
Bureaucratic.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And imagine being an artist and every stroke you wanted to do, you had to get clearance from someone that has no idea what art is.
And some things you're not even allowed to draw.
You're not even allowed. Yeah,
you're not allowed to talk about it. Like you can't put this in charts. You can't. This is interesting. So obviously I lived in Ohio. The Cleveland Clinic is right there. And I have my clinic there and it's great because there's the Cleveland Clinic Center for Functional Medicine. So we pull a lot of practitioners there. Amazing. But anyways, I was talking to a surgeon actually from the Cleveland Clinic and he was no longer allowed to, and I don't know if this is everywhere, and I'm definitely not going to say their name, but he was no longer allowed to say that people were obese because they were getting bad reviews.
It's so silly. I mean, that's the wokeness, right?
I mean, they have to be able to say this.
I know.
Because you have to be able to help someone with their health.
We're idiocracy. So it's a level of idiocracy. So I agree with everything you just said, by the way, and I appreciate what you said too, because I always say nobody's coming to save you. We cannot, it's like playing craps. Like you really don't know what you're rolling. We cannot bank our future on some outcome that could change everything. That's no agency. That's opposite of agency.
Yeah.
So we got to step into our power and we have to go into our authority. I think, it's kind of common nomenclature that, the biggest resistance you can have against a failing system is to stand in your power and to be that, right? We've heard that line over and over. There's that I paraphrase that, but that's been said 1,000 different ways over the centuries in some philosophy or not. So I like where you're at. So how do we do that? If someone's listening to this right now, they're like, okay, well, what do I do? Well, I think a lot of that information is starting to be shared now, right? You do a great job of providing people, it's like pretty clear cut here. Here are systems. This is my non-negotiables on how I rise every day. I got to go into a pitch dark room. It's got to be around 66 degrees. There can be no false light in there, not even little blinking bullshits coming from electronics, nothing. Wi-Fi is, hopefully off. I haven't eaten a large dinner, 3-4 hours, at least before I go to bed. I'm not drinking a ton of water, so I'm waking up having to interrupt my sleep cycle. I'm pretty much loaded on the right minerals that are going to cause a calming in the nervous system. It's going to help blood regulation, cortisol suppression, things of that nature. I'm not, frying my head with, crazy foods and crazy, movies or whatever it is that's just causing massive dopamine spikes. I'm in a balanced relationship that's energetically creating clarity for me, and I'm in love, and oxytocin's pumping. We go on and on and on.
Yeah.
And then that previous rise, I'm up naked in the sun, turning on the biomolecular suit, so all the activations can happen through photobiomodulation, and then we can go into the deeper levels of how the mitochondria works. So we got to start with the basics.
Yeah.
Right. And I was talking offline with Jamie over there. Little minor wins. Sharpen the knife, sharpen the blade every single day. The Easterns knew what they were talking about when they said chop wood, carry water, become enlightened, go to sleep. What do? You wake up, you chop wood, you carry water, you become enlightened. This is a daily discipline. This is something that we have to do every day, and it doesn't take exotic $100,000 tools or crazy stem cell procedures or anything that is so wild or unattainable. Although I think everything's attainable in life.
It is.
Yeah. That's
and I have a hyperbaric chamber in the next room.
Right. That's the laws of manifestation. That is the truth of that. There is a frequency to that. But the non-negotiables have to be in place. And if you are skipping the non-negotiables, then you are not practicing self-love. Right?
Yeah.
I get up every rise at 5:30 a.m. I drink my molecular hydrogen. I get under the sun. I put my feet on the earth. I'm naked in front of the sun. I shake. I do my chants. I do all these movements. I hang upside down. I do all these things because I know how my body works and I know how I feel from that. And I'm tapping myself on my back as I'm doing it, reconditioning the entire experience. And so if you can get into your authority and start doing these things, then you can start building momentum. And then if you have the desire to learn why these things are good for you, now we're talking about really bringing in the placebo with the real, applications.
Yeah.
And now you're making serious change. And now all of a sudden, your biometric scores across the board could be looking tremendously better. And now your biological age could be 50% younger than your chronological age. And the mindset that, oh, it's too late, or I've done too much damage, or this is hocus pocus, is a complete farce, is a complete illusion. People don't know what it feels like to feel good.
I know.
The body does such an amazing job allowing you to just feel comfortable, right?
Yeah.
And when the body starts suppressing the nervous system so you can just feel comfortable, then you never even want to get uncomfortable. Yeah. And there's the problem, because we now know that the hormetic principles are foundational for our ability to stay young, active, fit, mobile, and be able to take care of ourselves in case shit hits the fan. You know what I mean? And you got to be able to jump and climb up a rope and be able to climb a tree if you need to, and sprint and do all these different things. These are foundational things, and that's part of my everyday life, things that I want to do every single day, because it's the opposite of blaming a group, getting angry, being frustrated, or being sedentary, which are all foundational to dying very soon.
I couldn't agree more. It's so funny. I had to bring on a Princeton PhD to talk about the sun on my podcast because there's so much misinformation. And like you said, science is a religion these days. So Princeton, check. PhD, check. Loves the sun and thinks, yes. So double check. So I hope that podcast gets far and reach wide. I saw you commented on Dr. Alexis's comment, but even just that simple thing that we've been doing for years, since the evolution of time, we've been getting sun, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, we cannot get sun. We have to stay indoors. We should only stay on our phone. It's like, what the heck is going on here?
That was planned.
Yeah.
Just like margarine was planned.
Oh gosh, margarine.
Okay. Which plays its part into melanomas with sun damage.
Yeah.
Because margarine rises to the surface of the skin and confuses the conversion, and the hormone D can't get produced, and all of a sudden you have possibly different forms of cancer forming, but you're literally priming it up for that. It's beyond comprehension where we're at. It literally is just, it's so ridiculous. You just got to take time to just unravel it or unlearn it, right? A little bit. And I think the sun is a perfect example of just how backwards everything has been. And I've been talking about tap water probably since 2006, 2007. Like
Yeah.
I would go crazy on tap water. You know, I was taught and shown like what's in our, you know, in our standard municipal tap water. And
crazy.
it's getting crazier and crazier every
insane.
year. It's beyond like the new, I remember the new crazy was, you know, all the pharmaceutical drugs that were being flushed in the toilet and recirculated. But the stuff that's in there now is we're at insane levels. And so we talk about these things. It's like, okay, if someone's listening, like what is the solution here? What do they do? Well, it's funny because I think them listening to this podcast is a really good start.
Yeah.
Like if you're here listening to this, that means that something has brought you here, right? And I don't think anything in life is random. You know, you can actually, there's actually a mathematical proof. One of my dear brothers, Robert Edward Grant, he's an advanced polymath. He's shown me that through numbers, everything is perfect. And there's a creationism to it. It's not random. We're not this random Big Bang theory and we just evolved from randomness. Everything is happening for you. And if you choose that mentality that this is not happening against me, but it's happening for me, then now we can build some momentum. So you're here listening to me and Kayla riff and having the best time ever. We are talking about things that inspire us.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
So what the hell are you talking about all day long?
Yeah.
That's my question.
I'm definitely talking about this, and I know you are too.
Yeah. Like I'm going berserk. Like this is the shit I like to talk about. So if you're talking about stuff that's perhaps irrelevant and it's filled with chaos and it's filled with drama and it's part of the pop culture bullshit and it's part of something that is decaying you and causing dopamine spikes, which really is eliciting a big problem for you, short term and long term, then you can't sit here and complain about the government. Yeah. You can't sit here and complain about your autoimmune disorder.
Which,
you know what I mean?
By the way, I mean, gee, it's like my heart actually breaks. You know, I've been out here in LA for a year now, and I'm not being hyperbolic when I say every woman that I have spoken to, you know, I'm in the health industry, so it just naturally comes up. It's like not everyone's always talking about these things, but everyone has something. Autoimmune, endometriosis, PCOS, issues with fertility. It's heartbreaking, like truly, that women, I mean, everybody is being hit so hard with this, but, you know, women, we know that we leave the home with more chemicals, known toxins. I know everybody wants to be like, everything's a chemical. Okay, yes, we know everything, including organic food, is a chemical makeup, but I'm talking about known carcinogens and, you know, known endocrine disruptors. I had to do so much work and I threw away everything. Like there's not a single high-end fragrance, nothing here, because it's all just made to harm us. I'm not saying that's necessarily the intention, but that's what's happening, you know?
Yeah. Well, it's a veneer.
Yeah.
It's a veneer. And this whole world has become a veneer. And the inside's rotting.
Yeah.
It's like, I use the analogy all the time. Like, let's say you save up all your money to buy a $5 million hypercar. Okay? So you buy some crazy, rare Ferrari or Bugatti or whatever the hell, Koenigsegg, whatever you're into. Yeah. And I love exotic cars. I think they're epic. I love the engineering. I love how they feel. And you drive on PCH and all of a sudden all the check engine lights come on. And if you'd be out of your mind if you didn't immediately pull over and get that car towed to a dealership.
Right.
But can you imagine putting duct tape over all the check engine lights and just so you're not looking at it? Well, we're doing that with our health every single day. We are masking every single symptom and not understanding where the root cause is coming from because we don't care enough to learn. And we think it's too complicated because we've been given a bunch of bad advice by weird scientism and we've never allowed ourselves to learn. And this is part of the education in the school systems. The way they taught mathematics, the way they taught science, the way they taught chemistry was all completely out of the art form of it to understand how the body relates to those things. We are literally mathematics. We are literally chemistry. We are literally biology. We're all of those things. And so because of the escapism, the toxicity load, the drama-filled world, the competition, parents that have no idea how to parent, I mean, I can go on and on and on. Now, what is left to do? escape,
Mm-hmm.
entertain,
Yeah. Drink alcohol.
everything, right? All the impulses
drugs.
to escape,
Yeah.
all of those are impulsive escapism techniques.
Mm-hmm.
And we're literally escaping. Food's escapism. Yeah. Being an asshole to your partner is escapism.
Mm-hmm.
Finding, hating on someone, that's a form of escapism because it takes you out of self-reflection. It's deflecting into that. Mm-hmm. That right there is I think that is the cancer that is in our world today right now. And it is rotting, and everyone is putting up a veneer. No, the authenticity has gone out the window because we cannot tap into our vulnerability and tap into those places until shit's completely hit the fan and every single co-infection in your body is triggering a central nervous system attack, and you have 10 million things going on, and then now you're begging mayday, mayday, mayday for a savior. And no one's coming to save you. Yeah. The agency was within you the whole time. So this is how I see. I'm born and raised in Southern California. I'm from San Diego, little beach town in San Diego. Now Orange County in Hawaii and a few other places. I've had a really good bird's eye view of seeing this material world unfold over the last 20 years. Mm-hmm. I've seen this, this monster just kind of taken over the consciousness of, our world, and especially in America. And this is, I think there's nothing more important to talk about than how do we unwind this and unlearn this and build true character forms and start building really good relationships. And I love, a lot of the people that are in my life right now are only people that are operating with this level of connection for self and showing up in that way. And if they're not, I'm calling them higher and having them, step up. Yeah. And it's the same thing. I ask the same thing in return from my friendships and people around me, is to call me higher, and show up, because the veneer game, and I see it with all the social media ambassadors and all this stuff. Look how cute I am. Look how cool I am. Look where I'm at. Look at my little matcha drink. Look at my little green juice. Yeah. Like, it drives me crazy. And I'm not attacking them, saying they're bad people. A lot of them are just really nice, awesome people. Yeah. But it's lacking authenticity, and it's lacking true awareness, and it's taking so many of our abilities from forming and growing and expanding. We all need to come together and step up. It can't just be one guru, one savior, one martyr. It's like everyone has to really show up for us to make a difference here and be able to get through all this craziness. Are you ready for molecular hydrogen?
Yeah, let's do it. I'm excited about this.
All right, here we go. Usually you want to drop molecular hydrogen in a little bit more water, but that's fine.
Well, I have more water. Is mine okay?
Yeah, yours is perfect.
Okay, great.
Go. So it's an effervescent tablet, highly compressed. And these have actually gotten better over the years. I remember I got my first molecular hydrogen tablet probably 12 years ago, 13 years ago. It's a wild Russian guy that was making them. He was making them for everyone in the industry. And he was in Vegas, and he was a berserker. And it had a lot of residue, and it was very kind of had a metallic feeling, because you got to use some pretty interesting materials to make this happen. But over the years, it got cleaner and cleaner and better. And now it's just almost superior. So, hydrogen is the first element on the periodic table. It's the smallest element. It pretty much takes up, I think, 98% of our world is made of hydrogen. Just think how crazy that is. Yeah. And maybe even more than that, 98%. And as far as it being, in this supplemental form, we're taking a high concentration and increasing the voltage capacity and electricity and hydrogen capacity of the water. Mm-hmm. Then we drink the water, and the hydrogen is able to pass through every barrier in the body. Mm-hmm. And something that it does very well is it neutralizes a really wild whirling dervish of a free radical called hydroxyl. And hydroxyl is it's almost like it's a metabolite, or it's a breakdown of biological processes in the body, whether it's a transcription factor or protein or whatever it is, and it attacks the DNA. And so this acts as an antioxidant, right? Lending an electron and neutralizes hydroxyl. And it also pulls in endogenous production of, superoxidized dismutase and glutathione and all these other things. I love molecular hydrogen. The way you drink it is usually you spike it. It's not something that you want to sip on for hours. It's a redox, right? So
how quickly does it lose its potency?
If you had this on here, you're probably good for like 6 hours.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
If this is out, it's gone. And, most of the voltage is gone probably within 15, 20 minutes.
Got it.
Yeah. And so once or twice a day, if you're going full on, you're training, you're working, you're stimulating all these things, I think twice a day is good, at least 6 hours apart.
Love that.
Yeah.
And what about everyone that's doing these and I will say, years ago when I first learned about hydrogen water, I liked the machines too, but and I'm fully team tablet, and obviously your products, but why should people not maybe use those hydrogen water makers?
I had like 100 of those, right? And a lot of them just broke down and, you're getting weird residues on them. And ultimately, you're not getting the strength that you're getting with this. If let's say you're at 10 ounces of water, 8 ounces of water, you're getting close to 10, 11, 12 parts per million molecular hydrogen. With the machines, maximum 2. And so this is just a much denser approach. You get more bang for your buck in terms of that. And, again, a lot of the machines are coming from, Asia.
Yeah.
And they're not built with the right materials. It's like not made of some like, exotic material, titanium, gold, and some of these other things. They're made with, basic materials and plastics. And so I like the idea of also having a tablet with me wherever I go. I've been in some crazy parts of the world where I just pulled out my molecular hydrogen and just filled up my spring water and just threw that in there, and it's a game changer.
I also, get concerned because you have to keep the node covered in water, and then I feel like mold can develop or rust I've definitely moved away from that, but I love this. So you do it once in the morning when you first wake up?
I do. Yeah, I do. So I'll drink probably 24 ounces of spring water with Celtic sea salt first. And then about 30 minutes later, I do a molecular hydrogen in 24 ounces of water. And I just charge that up. I hit it pretty quick.
Love it. And main benefits are antioxidant.
And there's over, I think, 1,100 published peer-reviewed studies on particular, metabolic diseases and pathologies and stuff like that. So literally, we could do 10-hour podcasts on this. I did when we first launched it at Cymbiotika, I did a 2.5-hour video at the Cymbiotika campus on molecular hydrogen.
Really?
Yeah, it was awesome. And I think it lives on the site. So there's so much about it. This is a maybe top 5.
Oh, nice.
Like, I hate to call it a hack. It's a top 5 harnessing of nature.
Good.
Like that? Harnessing of nature.
I love that.
Yeah,
I love it.
That's like really what we're doing. So anyone can be on molecular hydrogen. It's hydrogen. We're made of it, right? It's part of the process. So I like how easy molecular hydrogen works and how, it's just so handy. And it's one of those things that's an umbrella for every part of your health. From neurodegenerative health, like, people that are going through all these afflictions right now, to cardiovascular problems, a lot of circulation issues, liver, kidney, spleen, all that stuff. That whole part of the digestive tract, molecular hydrogen really, really shows up. And it's awesome.
I love that. Hi guys, I'm going to interrupt this episode for a brief announcement. As you may or may not know, I started a community for females by females, and it's a female longevity optimization community. This is a place that you can connect with like-minded women. We are all here to support each other, and there's a variety of different benefits to being a member. You get a monthly Ask Me Anything, so submit your questions and I'll answer them directly. We also have an entire library of courses on all of the important components of longevity, such as labs, nutrition, exercise, sleep optimization, longevity optimization protocols that I'm doing, along with real-time updates to my personal protocols. There are so many benefits of being a member of the community. We'll also be doing in-person live events here in California and virtual events for anyone that can't attend. But if you're interested in joining the community, I would absolutely love to see you there. And I will include a link in the show notes. I want to dive really deep into kind of minerals and mineralization. So we already kind of touched on the topic and the fact that our soil is essentially depleted.
No,
so,
it's gone.
Yeah. So
topsoil is gone.
What do people do? I know that you're a big fan of Shilajit, and I need to learn more about it. I have Cymbiotika Shilajit here, but talk to me about minerals.
Mineralization is the foundation. It's before anything else. It's before vitamins. It's before foods. I mean, foods are supposed to be mineralizing you for the most part, but they're not mineralized anymore.
Yeah.
And so in order for a action to occur in the body, there has to be a mineral. Minerals are the cofactors for every biological process in the human body. And it's very interesting when you think about the periodic table and what minerals are. Did you see that video I put out today on iodine?
I did. I've been so busy today, but tell me about it.
Look at my arm, right?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So I dropped 2 drops of Lugol's, was it Lugol's or monatomic iodine? I think it was Lugol's, and which is about 400 micrograms. And this is, I don't know, now 8-9 hours ago, and it hasn't disappeared. That means that I have pretty good iodine in my body. Now, it's not as detailed test of a urine or blood test. Actually, urine's probably the best way to test for iodine based on your diet. But just thinking about iodine, like what it represents and how it offers so much in the human body, how it stimulates thyroxine and how it helps bones realize calcium, and how it works with calcium and iron and copper and all these things. It's just such an incredible thing to really think about, that pieces of the earth, whatever this dimension is, has a unique electron signature that activates, triggers, stimulates, modulates the human body for a very particular function.
Yeah.
Like I trip out on that.
I mean, it's unbelievable.
It's unbelievable.
Like, it's all for a reason.
It's all for a reason, and it's perfection, right?
Yeah.
And so if we're demineralized, which everyone is, and I think we're going to do a whole new, we're going to actually do a talk specifically on minerals, and we're going to do a talk specifically on dehydration.
Yeah.
Because I think we're clinically dehydrated in this world.
Absolutely.
Clinically.
Yeah.
And if you have dry mouth, you're on the 10th stage of dehydration. You know what I mean? Dehydration starts way before that. And getting hydrated isn't drinking 4 bottles of water every day. It's a very unique process to get hydrated. And because of everything that's happening in our world, the electromagnetic frequencies, the diuretics, the stress, all that stuff, it's pushing water out of our bodies. So mineralization. If you look at the spectrum of disorders that are happening right now and today, fundamentally, they all come from a lack of minerals. Minerals are at the center of most issues when it comes to immunological health, when it comes to brain health, cardiovascular health, autoimmune conditions, and all thyroid, pituitary hormone issues. It's a lack of mineralization, and that lack of mineralization causes miscues in the body, and then things don't fire. What they also do is they allow for the wrong metals to stay in the body, because if you don't have particular high levels of certain, very precious minerals that need to be in the body, then other things that are all over the environment, that are all over in the foods, that are in the clothes, that are in your cars, that are in the fire retardant, wherever it is, starts accumulating in the body, and they collect in the areas that the body really needs to use the right minerals. And so for me, foundational minerals that are part of my life, obviously, are all the main ones. But let's just talk about, sodium, potassium, calcium, and what those electrolytes are and why they're so important to create a unique charge in the body. So your heart's beating right now, right? My heart's beating. What does that even mean? How is it beating? Well, it's an electrical fire. It's an electrical signal. And the way that electrical signal works is that it's a balance between electrolytes, and it's also a balance between acid and alkaline. And that's why it creates a polarity and it creates a charge. When your heartbeat stops, that's mainly because there's no more charge there. And then the doctor or the nurse or the attendee uses a defibrillator to shock the heart back on so it can start beating again, right? Which is really wild when you really think about it.
Yeah.
We're electrical before we're chemical.
Yeah.
And in order for the electrical system to work, we have to be properly mineralized. And you cannot receive information from the sun through photobiomodulation if you don't have certain minerals in place, particularly magnesium, right? If your magnesium levels are off, then you cannot convert photons into hormone D3 properly and accumulate that to do whatever they say it is, 3,000 biological processes or genetic processes directly related to hormone D3, which is actually sunlight. Yeah. Minerals are ultimately the conductor of every activity that we do. And so what do we do? How do we get mineralized? How does this work? Well, first and foremost, you're going to need to do a hair and mineral test, right? And those are legitimate tests that need to be done by everybody. So if you're listening to this, please go and get that test done. This is a hair test. They're not yanking your hair out. They're just going to it just takes a segment of your hair, and it'll give us a really good understanding of what is accumulated into your body. And all the other polluted materials that you don't want in there as well comes up on some of these tests. Yeah. So this is a hair mineral tissue and test. From there, always start feeding your body the proper minerals. Because magnesium's depleted and we're probably not eating 100 pounds of cacao all day long, you want to supplement with magnesium, right? There are, I think, 9 forms of magnesium. There's actually more, but what's on the market right now, there's different forms. Yeah. I'm a big fan, obviously, of 3 and 8 because the hardest place to get magnesium is in the brain. And so if we're already depleted, that means the brain is completely depleted. And if we don't have magnesium in the brain, that means ion channels aren't properly communicating and stress is building up, which is then creating, toxicity in the brain, confusion in the brain, blood problems in the brain, which ultimately leads to plaque buildup and all of these different things. And then all of a sudden, you're dealing with something really, really bad. Yeah. A lot of people right now are in that position, and because they're demineralized and they're looking for a boost. What do? They just take a stimulant. And that's why people are drinking, smoking tobacco, drinking coffee, and are hooked onto the stimulants because those connections are not firing. And so magnesium, bathing in magnesium. I take magnesium baths all the time. It's a pastime for me, right?
Love it. Yeah.
You love to, right? So just Epsom salt or magnesium flakes. You could do foot baths and copper, stuff like that. Another important mineral.
You guys have the transdermal magnesium. That's great.
We do. That was, I really was like, okay, we have to source really epic magnesium for this, and we gotta get DMSO in there, and we got to do it in glass. Yeah. There's no other group out there that sells transdermal magnesium with dimethyl sulfoxide in glass. It's just non-existent. And DMSO, if you don't know what DMSO is basically a carrier, transdermal carrier. It pulls everything on the surface into the bloodstream almost instantaneously. And magnesium chloride, which is the Dead Sea magnesium that's in that product, is already a transdermal form of magnesium. Yeah. And so that magnesium goes on really well. Now, there's other topical magnesiums that create itches. Have you ever felt like a transdermal magnesium itch?
I've only used yours. So
You've only used mine, right? So a lot of on the market create that itch. It's because the vasodilation of the body isn't functioning properly, and it's causing some pathway issues. And then you get like itchy. There's no itch with ours. It's epic. I like to spray it on my shoulders, on my chest, on my quads. Usually big muscle groups is where it goes. Feet too. Getting magnesium in the feet is just the best ever.
Yeah, absolutely. I give my husband a massage with it.
There you go. That's great. Talk about the cosmic connection. 2 human beings in love, and the conductor is magnesium. It doesn't. This is what alchemy is. This is what the mystics were doing. They knew this. All the different high priestesses and all the alchemists. They know what they were doing. So magnesium is also part of the burn rate for stress. So every time, you're dealing with a tense situation where you're going from parasympathetic to sympathetic and crossing over into a fight, flight, hide, freeze, whatever you want to call it, magnesium stores are being used, which makes sense because magnesium is the conductor for these neurochemicals. And if you're not firing, then you freeze under pressure and you freak out and you don't know what to do. And that's why people cramp up. That's why people constrict. That's why people have heart palpitations. Why? Because magnesium is the conductor of the electricity. And without it, you're dry firing everywhere. Yeah. And that causes instability issues. Magnesium is needed to, displace certain minerals that don't belong there and certain metals. It's also there to work with other minerals like zinc and copper. Copper is another mineral that I'm so high on because it's gotten a bad rap, but copper might be one of the most important minerals in the world. It's how we manufacture ATP. Copper and oxygen come together to create energy. It's also part of the methylation process, which is another private podcast that we'll do just on methylation and MTHFR gene mutation. These are certain things that if people understand and give them a better chance to be able to detoxify. Copper is so misunderstood that it's probably one of the most unrecognized and unaware minerals in the world that can create massive change in someone's health, immune system, energy, beauty. It's a very beautifying mineral. Yeah. It's anti-parasitic too. So we're dealing with high levels of parasites in our foods and parasites in our body because our inner ecology is off. And so copper helps bring that back to balance. Mm-hmm. It has a very unique signature, and I use it in a daily practice. Silica.
How are you getting the copper?
We have copper in our copper zinc formula. Okay. And it's a perfect ratio because one of those will displace the other. So you have to have them together. Mm-hmm. And I get copper in oysters. Yeah. Yeah. So I get it in my oysters. Foods. I advise eating oysters fall, winter, spring, not in the summer unless it's being shipped from some northern altitude place. Yeah. So oysters are huge. I also get it from liver. Mm-hmm. I'm a qualitarian. I eat meat. Yeah. And so, copper is just abundant in a lot of those foods, and it's so necessary. Silica, is the beautifying mineral, and it's more than beautifying because it does the same thing to our skin that it does to our organs. Mm-hmm. Rudolf Steiner called silica the levitation mineral. Mm-hmm. It brings us up. And so I'm a big fan of silica. Silica combined with, vitamin C and other minerals creates a superfood. It's a super tonic. Everyone should be on silica. And, the zinc craze is a little bit interesting. I'm a fan of zinc, but you got to be a little bit careful with zinc. You can't overdo it. Mm-hmm. It's not something that I advise you taking every single day. And depending on your health and where you're at, it's something to look in a little bit deeper on how you're approaching it. Minerals is foundational for us to be fully active in our body. Mm-hmm. And you mentioned Shilajit, which is, why, we went so big on it. And which is interesting because Cymbiotika, I was talking to my brother, my business partner, Shahab, he's the CEO of Cymbiotika, and we were just laughing together. Like, we offer the most Shilajit on earth. We provide the most Shilajit on earth for the last 4 years.
I love that. And I'm not surprised, but yeah.
It's just like my heart just like sinks every time I say that. Like, I get emotional because this is something that I learned about when I was like 10. And it was like this mysterious black goo that my cousin gave me one day, and he said, this comes from the highest altitudes of the Himalayas. This is really what fossil fuel is, not the bullshit that the media has made up, Yeah. And so it's basically broken down plants and other materials that are living, that have decayed in that rich mineral earth. Mm-hmm. And then fulvic and humic acid has broken it all apart. So it's this perfect alchemy for the human body. It's got every trace mineral in there, 84 trace minerals. It's so clean. We only source from the highest altitudes, so you're not getting like lower region heavy metals. It's all tested, third party, goes through like deep standards. We don't mess around with that stuff. And it's part of my ritual. I'm on Shilajit probably 5 days a week. It triggers my nervous system in the best way ever. It's good for my prostate. It's good for my everything. It's foundational. It's unique, and it's an adaptogen. So, and that's a whole nother topic, is what is an adaptogen? It's helping my body adapt to stress and creates reservoirs of information.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
And when do you take it and how much?
I take about a gram every single day. I do half a gram in between each other. So, I take it either with in warm water, not scalding hot. I don't want to boil it. I don't want to boil it. Or I'll have it with if I do a coffee.
Nice.
I do coffee maybe 3 days a week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
You put it in the coffee.
I put it.
Just needs to not be super hot.
I put it in the coffee. Correct.
Yeah. I've done that before too. I need to get back on and reintroduce it to my routine in a more consistent way. But I'm excited we talked about it today.
It's a perfect synergy with coffee because coffee is acidic by nature, and it chelates minerals out of the body. It's just, that's what coffee does. And so to supplement it, Shilajit back in there, now we're neutralizing that acidity because the pH of Shilajit is, pretty high.
Yeah.
And so that's just a great combo. And when we do our mineral conversation, I'm going to break down pH on the minerals and explain why we leach calcium when we're under stress and what all this means. It's really unbelievable when you can start tying it all together to all the autoimmune conditions. And I'll say this publicly. I really think majority of the autoimmune conditions, there could be a solution around just proper mineralization. I'll say that.
That's exciting.
Yep.
Let's do a quick little rapid fire questions about supplements. So minerals, obviously, number one.
Number one.
What else do you think we need? Like, what does your stack look like in order? And give us just a few little notes on why.
Okay. So I take magnesium L-threonate twice a day. I spray our topical magnesium on 3 times a day. I'm on our methyl B12 product every single day, which has all 3 active forms of B12. No company in the world has that. So we have methylcobalamin, adenosylcobalamin, and hydroxycobalamin. These are different forms that have different actions. And if you don't have, let's say, intrinsic factor in your gut because you didn't play in the soil as a kid and develop that bacteria, you're not absorbing B12. So we have that in there. We also have L-methylfolate in there and pyridoxine in there. So different B vitamins. I take that. That is a supercharger. I have all my world-class athletes on that product. I'm on our glutathione PQQ CoQ10 combo. That's in liposomal form. So is the B12. Those are in liposomes as well. We can do a whole thing on liposomes as well. Glutathione, as you know, is a tripeptide. It's a chelator mainly. It's an antioxidant. It's manufactured almost in every cell, but primarily in the liver. It's beyond just detoxifying. It does so much. It lends a helping hand across many different frameworks of the body. Gets into the respiratory system, gets into the brain system, all that stuff. And we have PQQ in there, pyrrolone, quinone. That's a tongue tie. We have 20 milligrams in there. You can find a PQQ product, 20 milligrams, usually the standard dose, for $40-$50, just that alone. That's in liposomal form with the glutathione.
Yeah, it's a good stack.
Yeah, it's an incredible combination, and I love it. And what else is part of that stack? I drink matcha daily. That's my main kick. And we have ceremonial grade First Harvest matcha. I will say this: we're working on something really cool with matcha. I can't say it here, but it's going to be epic. We're doing the same thing with Shilajit. Wink, wink. And yeah, some really cool stuff. I would say also, I love our Super Greens formula. The Super Greens is just, it's a way to get a load of different nutrients and antioxidants, some that convert to sulforaphane in the body without the oxalates. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and
great.
It's fantastic. There's so many. It's interesting. Like, I look at our portfolio and I'm always just kind of blown away at, what has been built and what's been offered, and to see it grow the way it's grown. It's it's a fun thing. Molecular hydrogen obviously is a staple. I literally take molecular hydrogen with me everywhere I go.
Mm-hmm. Love that.
Yep. So those are like my top ones out the gate. Our Golden Mine product, which is epic, I'm actually working on a new version of that. I'm going to make that into a serious advanced nootropic formula that's beyond anything we've seen. So right now it's good. We got that high ratio lion's mane in there, but I want to go way deeper. And so that's something I've been working on with my team.
Love that. You're going to love this. But when my husband and I first started dating, I would, of course, make us dinner back then too. And for dessert, I would serve the chocolate longevity mushroom Cymbiotika pack.
That's the best. I think that's super cute. I forgot about that one because it's just such a delicacy. We use organic, fair trade Peruvian cacao for that. Mm-hmm. And the mushroom combo in there is from our friends at Ohm.
Oh, great. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm friends with those guys, and I used to geek out with them before Cymbiotika, and then we got together and we're like, let's do a cacao liposomal medicinal mushroom combo with king trumpet and all the cool medicinal mushrooms. And so that's like a fan favorite, that product.
I love it. I mean, so if you're looking for a dessert to give someone, I mean, there you go.
And I'm about to make it better.
I love that.
Yeah, like I want to say that about Cymbiotika is that your majority of the products are live liposomes. Mm-hmm. These are things that can't sit around for 2 years. Yeah. They can't sit in a warehouse. This doesn't work that way. Yeah. So if you're eating a Cymbiotika product right now, I did some math. Most likely it was either manufactured literally like 2 weeks ago and you just got the order, or possibly the latest like 5-6 months ago, because we can't even keep things in stock. Yeah. Right. And so you're getting like fresh made to order liposomal formula, and liposomal just means that these nutrients are protected and coated in phospholipids, and we use pure rich phosphatidylcholine like concentrate. This thing is like it's like a tar. This is how I work with it in the lab with our chemists. It's literally like this. It's almost like a stone. It's incredible, and it's glistening and shining. I'll show you videos. And that material is literally what makes up the cell lining in our brain. And it's really incredible.
No, I mean, without a doubt. I mean, I kind of opened up with this, but your products, you as a human being are so authentic, and I know how much you care about what you're building and what people are putting into their bodies. And it's, again, I'm not saying that other people, maybe they do that, but I've just known you personally, and quality is everything for you, from what you're putting in your body, on your body, what you're selling to your customers. It's so important. So, I'm a big fan.
Kayla, I really appreciate that reflection.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for coming on.
I'll throw one more in here. D3K2 CoQ10 combo is incredible. Yeah. Now, there's some speculation out there that you want to be careful with D3 supplementation and things of that nature. I agree. We have 4,000 IUs of D3 that's coming from lichen, right? So it's a cross between fungi and algae, and it goes through a water extraction process. So it's still in its like live form. And I have that with K2, both versions, the MK7 and MK4 version. This is huge. This is huge for mothers. This is huge for children. This is the, fat soluble vitamin that we know as Activator X. That's what it was called back in the day. And this is what allows free floating calcium through that process to get actually put into the bones. So a lot of women that are going through, menopause and all of those things, K2 has to be in your diet. Yeah. Children that are growing, their faces are developing. We talked about palate extension, all the expansion, all that stuff. A lot of that is because they weren't getting K2 in their diet. And because they're not eating raw milk and raw cheeses and things of that nature, fermented food, natto. And so we have both versions of K2 in there, and they're both trademark forms. And that combo with D3 is just incredible. I love that formula. Thank you. Thank you, by the way, for what you just said. That means the world to me, because, there's no bullshit with me. Yeah. What you see is what you get. Yeah.
And I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Of course.
It's not always like that.
Yeah.
So, well, we could talk for forever, but we're going to wrap this up so I can make us all some dinner tonight.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Grass-fed, grass-finished Wagyu, some fermented garlic and rosemary. We're going to do, of course, regenerative Brussels sprouts. We're going to have, farm peaches, fresh from the farm peaches for dessert, whole thing, bone broth. We're having the whole 9 yards tonight. So
let's go.
Yeah, I'm going to go make dinner, but it's been a pleasure to have you on.
Okay. Thank you so much for having us here, and inwards, onwards, and upwards.
Love it.
This podcast is for informational purposes only, and views expressed on this podcast are not medical advice. This podcast, including Kayla Barnes, does not accept responsibility for any possible adverse effects from the use of the information contained herein. Opinions of their guests are their own, and this podcast does not endorse or accept responsibility for statements made by guests. This podcast does not make any representations or warranties about guest qualifications or credibility. Individuals on this podcast may have a direct or indirect financial interest in products or services referred to herein. If you think you have a medical issue, consult a licensed physician.